optimism, but that optimism is, I can see, echoed here in the heart of the city, and there are numerous discussions I had with new ministers who are all complaining that the Congress hasn't left any money for the new government. I do have a solution, and that solution is the City of London, and it is the professional services organisations and the banking community in London that can provide that type of support that India definitely does require. And Shaurya, you mentioned that in quite some detail in your presentation. But I just wanted to thank both Ashurst for hosting us today, and also to Grant Thornton. Both organisations have been very active in India over many, many years, and they provide the very important support, both for UK companies going into India and Indian companies coming into this part of the world.
It's been a great, great afternoon, full of passion, full of emotion, full of optimism. I'm not even going to use the word cautious, because having heard about the great man at the end of the day, I love the word apolitical. I love the word someone who stands up for the last man, someone who stands up for the poor. And I think India is going to go from strength to strength. As I said at the beginning of the day, maybe in 20 years' time we'll see India versus China in soccer, the World Cup final. India have already taught us how to play cricket successfully, and I'm sure in 20 years' time we'll probably teach us how to play soccer.
India has popped in and out of my life, but what I know is my mum and dad came here as immigrants. They came to an alien land, a hostile land, a land that said, no Irish, no dogs, and no Asians either. So that's the environment I was brought up in. That's not a long time ago, the 50s and the 60s. Now the Indian diaspora here in England, we're not the bus conductors anymore, we're not the ticket collectors, we're not the cleaners. We are serious people who run businesses. We have some of the most successful business entrepreneurs in the world. We have the largest legislature anywhere outside of India is India in the United Kingdom. We have ministers who are in charge of energy and climate change in England, and it's in India. So we've come a long way, and I've worked in education, I've worked in health. Those are my two areas, and we have a bad habit in England. And I'm a Yorkshire person, but we have a bad habit. We go to India and we say some nice things about wanting to work in partnership, wanting to work really in equal partners, but we can't help it. We end up saying, listen, you should do this, you should do that, you should do the other. I'm hoping that that's going to change now. I'm not a great follower of Indian politics, but I followed this from my good friend Lord Noon. I'm hoping things will change, where it's going to be an equal partnership, where the UK is not going and dictated, but actually working in real partnership and sharing. And I think the opportunity is there, and I think the idea of the dawn being there, the dawn is actually arising. And the success that the Indian community have made in the UK, I think is now potentially going to be worldwide. And it's people like you who are bringing us together to do that. And what small part those Yorkshire folk can do, we'll
We are named Lily after a 4-year-old girl who was sold for 50 rupees, which is about, 5,000 rupees, which is about 50 pounds, by her mother, who was a prostitute and had a drug habit. So this poor girl ended up in a Delhi brothel, and from where she was finally rescued. And of course, the madam and the pimps had hidden her in a water tank, and she was blue with the cold. And there was so much misery in this tiny little body that it's very hard for us to comprehend. But she was lucky because she was rescued. She's now 20 years old. She's been living in a kind of project, residential area that we've also been helping to support. But the trauma never disappears. I mean, it may be dormant. So a couple of years ago, when she was 18, I sent a message. I said, ask her what she wants to do now, because she had finished school. And she burst into tears and she said, I want to teach the mothers to love their children, because she said, my mother did not love them. She was not her soul mothers. So now, one sex slave can bring a profit of about $30,000 annually to the brothel and cost just $2,000 to maintain. And the global trade is such that it's valued at something like $32 billion annually, and it's growing. So much so, I think the House of Parliament is now debating about the slavery bill. So Mr. Narendra Modi has won a huge mandate as Prime Minister of India, and he talked about the rights of women to live with respect and without fear. And he's keen to empower women. And after almost 70 years of independence, let us hope that he can make real the promises of democracy for all the women who are really half the population.
Prime Minister Modi has shown one thing. You can come from the humblest of beginnings, and in a proper democracy, you can make it to the top. And I think that's the message that we should all be taking. And that's the message that we should be giving to young people in this country too. That don't think you can't have aspiration just because you're born somewhere lower down on the economic scale. Because those who are hungry for success can make it when their opportunities are there. So I'm looking forward to working with Prime Minister Modi and his government, many of whom are good friends. They're long-standing friends that we've had, and we're really, really pleased to see many of them in key positions.